we are back in the Radio Entrepreneur Studios. And for those of you who are new and for those of you who are old, we have been dedicated for over 8.5 years at streaming stories of entrepreneurship, leadership, good organizational behavior. And, I'm the host, Jeffrey Davis. And alongside, since day one, has been my favorite sidekick, Barney Fife. The fabulous Marc Zwetschgenbaum with our Marc Z special report. Welcome back, Marc. I hope you didn't mind me calling you Barney Fife.
I'd be honored to be your sidekick, Jeff. Great to be here today and talk about the Marc Z moment.
Well, we can be Robin and Batman, and I don't have to say which one of us is which. It doesn't really make a difference to me. That's a little bit better. Oh, I like Barney. But Marc, there's so much going on in the workplace. We see it from the head down.
Correct. And what's interesting, I thought I'd talk about a timely subject because it's very, very interesting. We're in a workplace now where people are working longer with their lives. People can perform jobs at advanced ages and stages of life. And one of the topics that just came up this past week, and it's been brewing for several weeks, is whether or not President Biden should step aside in the nomination process of his party. And it brought to light individuals in positions that are very qualified for jobs that still want to, whether it's practicing law, being in business. You have very successful entrepreneurs in business that are ageless. And here was a situation where eventually the president of the United States is, due to pressure, is forced out of his job for running for re-election because his party and the electorate are concerned about his age. And here's a case in one area where there can be a voice in saying it's or multiple voices in saying you're no longer qualified for your job.
So many times in my career, I do a lot of business transitions. I've had to say to leaders, it's time. It's the best time for the organization. It's the best time for everybody. You maybe feel like you're not ready, but everything else in the system is ready. And if you don't do it, you could hurt a lot of people and the system and the organization. And I think, the message was there. I could feel it. It was just going to happen. The matter for me was when, because it was time.
Right. No, it was a certain time where also you have a leader who even had said 4 years ago that I'm just really going to serve for one term to be a transition president. Just like in business, as you know, you have some presidents or you have people coming into roles that are interim presidents or interim CEOs. And sometimes those roles can lead to, if it's an interim position, can lead to a person becoming full-time in that role. But other times, it's the person being that transition person. And I think for President Biden, when you had a situation where it went beyond those 4 years, then that's when leaders like business leaders, as you've advised, have said it's time to step aside in terms of who should be leading the business, who should be leading the firm, who should be leading, in this case, the country.
And I'll just tell you, just from working with, organizational leaders and family business leaders, there's usually always resistance to not controlling the timetable from a leader. They want to go when they want to go. They don't want to go when they're being told it's time to go. They've been used to their whole life being in control. And all of a sudden they're being told, no, you're not in control anymore. It's time. And that's a time element in the process that has to be dealt with.
Right. And
I love the topic, Marc. You and I could talk about this topic. I could talk about it, for days because, I'm doing, after this meeting, I'm going to be working on 2 or 3 transitions today.
Right. That's what I was going to say to you is I know you do a lot of coaching in this space. You work with all different kinds of businesses and firms in helping them with their leadership, coaching their leadership, advising them on next steps and the future of the firm and the company. And that's, I'm sure with you, these are some difficult decisions you have to talk to these leaders and the groups about.
And, to separate a little bit from President Biden, this is something that the majority of baby boomer leaders that I meet are struggling with. It's
Right.
something I think about even in terms of myself all the time. I know when I'm picking on the fabulous Mark Z, I talk to you about it privately all the time also. This is a
Right.
topic that baby boomers, and he's older than a baby boomer, have to be thinking about all the time. What's best for the organization? What's best for me? What's best for my family? What's best for the marketplace? It's a tough decision when you're
Right.
not, when you spend 40, 50, 60 years being in control.
Right. 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 And those are situations where you bring in an expert like yourself to help consult and help bring in the right people to help make those decisions a little smoother and a little easier, to bring
And
in the
you
right talent for the right time.
and you do it with me. You do it also different than I do. I like the way you do it. You go to organizations, professional service firms, and you'll bring in new leadership. You'll recruit new leadership. You'll help position an organization to be strong or stronger for another 10, 12, 15 years by seeding it with a population of people. And, without a farm system, that's the way I like to describe it in my
Right.
vernacular. Without a farm system of people being developed, it doesn't make a difference if it's time or not time. I mean, if there
Right.
was nobody to replace Joe Biden, that would be the problem. The issue was
Right.
there were people to replace Joe Biden.
Right. Right. Particularly the number two, which
Right.
is where he is now making his recommendation. And in companies and firms, a lot of times you have that next person who can step up and really come in, take over a lot of responsibilities, and help either with that
Well,
transition or be the long-term next step leader.
and before you go, I'll just say to being equal, left wing, right wing equal. If you looked at national surveys 2, 3 months ago, such a large percentage of Americans wanted both the Republican and the Democratic leaders to
Absolutely.
step down, and they wanted to see fresh faces on
Right.
both sides. They
Right.
want a new generation of leadership. They've seen this leadership before. They didn't
Right.
want these two guys. It's not just one
Right.
guy. They want
Correct.
America wants new faces.
Correct. Just like companies, firms, they want that next generation of leadership. So
Right.
you're absolutely right. And that's what people are looking for. And that's so important. So although you can do the job and continue to do the job, it's finding somebody who can do the best job at the best time.
Well, and every day I look in the mirror and I want a new face too. Marc, if someone's looking for you, wants to know more about how to seed their organization so that they're strong for another generation, how would they find you?
Well, first of all, go on the Radio Entrepreneurs website, radioentrepreneurs.com, marczlegal.com, marczlegal.com, Google Marc Z, Marc and the letter Z, and 617-338-1300.
That's great. And I want to remind our listeners from day one, we've had Marc Z on the show. It's the Batman and Robin show, as I said before. And he'll be back next week on Radio Entrepreneurs.